Good morning and welcome back to Burmese Hot, Thailand. It is Thursday, May 28th. I'm actually surprised it's Thursday because I still haven't sent in my passport application to renew my passport, which is one of the main reasons I'm still here in Burmese Hot, is because I have to send in for a new passport, and that's going to take a few weeks. And I've got the forms for it, and I got the photos for it, and I have everything ready, but I guess I've just been delaying actually going to the post office and sending my application in to the Canadian Embassy. And that's what I'm doing this morning. That is my number one job for the day. And if I can get that done, then at least I can feel like I've accomplished something. Yeah, filling out these forms can be kind of stressful because no matter how many times I go over the forms, I still can never shake the feeling that I've forgotten something, that I've missed some important detail. And one thing I've learned in my life is that you really have to read instructions carefully. In this case, the application form for a Canadian passport, if you qualify for the simplified process, which I do, it's really quite a simple form. It's only 2 pages long. And even though the form is only 2 pages, the instructions for filling out the form are 3 pages long. So you have to read a detailed 3-page document to tell you how to fill out a 2-page form. And my habit of always reading instructions carefully stood me in good stead here, because one little piece of fine print in the instructions is that if your passport is not expiring, within the next, well, it basically says if your passport still has over a year of validity left on it, then you have to submit a written letter explaining why you need a new passport now. Because normally you have to wait until, your passport is within like 6 months of expiring before you can apply for a new one. In my case, I have a 10-year passport, and I only got it like 4 or 5 years ago, but I have to get a new one because it's already full. But if I hadn't read the instructions, I wouldn't have known that I had to explain this. Like, I had to write something formally saying I am applying for a new passport early because my passport is full, and then you sign that document and make it official. And I had to include that within my package. But of course, if I hadn't read the instructions carefully, I wouldn't even have known that. But I did it. And I'm heading to the post office here to send it in by EMS, kind of a postal service courier system, I guess. And there's a post office up here, if I remember correctly. Yesterday, I made sure to get the official address of my guest house from the owner, because when you go online and try to find the address, it's not entirely clear what it is in English. I've gotten a couple of packages in the mail at this guest house, and the addresses on those packages were completely different, one to the other. They both eventually made it to the guest house and they found me, but the landlady did tell me that the mailman had trouble figuring out where to bring those packages based on what had been written on them for an address. But anyway, I got the official address in English from the owner of the guest house. So hopefully when the embassy issues my new passport, they will know where to send it. I can never shake the feeling that something is going to go wrong. I've done my best in terms of getting the proper photographs, and in terms of filling out the form and coming up with references in Canada that they can call to confirm that I am who I say I am. So as far as I know, I've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and now all I can do is send it in and wait to see what happens. I hope it goes well. It's not an inexpensive process either. For a 10-year passport, For Canada, it costs $260 Canadian. I guess that's like, what, $200 US, something like that? Seems like a lot of money for a passport, but that's how things go. Here's the post office. Intarakiri Post Office. And that's actually part of the address for my guest house. And that's the same postal code too, 63111. And EMS. Let's see how this works out. Okay. All right, we're here at the post office, and it's a little bit confusing, of course, because I want to send it by EMS, but the envelope they give me for this document has nothing on it about, you know, EMS or courier service or anything like that. It just feels like a normal postal system envelope. But anyway, they keep insisting that for what I want to do, this is the envelope I need. So I just have to fill out the address to and from, and yeah, so get started filling this out. That's it. There's the post office behind me. It's all done. Now I just have to cross my fingers and hope, because yeah, I'm now a man without a passport, and my passport is in the hands of the Postal Service of Thailand and the bureaucracy of the Embassy of Canada in Bangkok. Who knows what's going to happen? As I was saying in there, the envelope that they gave me had nothing on it about courier service or EMS or registered mail or signature required or anything. I mean, it was just basically an envelope with an address for the sender and an address for where it's supposed to go, and that's pretty much it. And then when I brought it to the counter, I thought maybe when I brought it to the counter, the new system would kick in where the envelope was just an envelope, and now I would choose the level of service that I wanted. You know, 1-day delivery, same-day delivery, registered, signature required, all these kinds of things. But no matter how many different ways I sort of asked for this information, there didn't seem to be any options. I could just give him the envelope, and then he would put a stamp on it, and then he would send it, you know? So again, I'm just not used to that, particularly because the fee was 37 baht. And coming from Canada, you're not getting anything for 37 baht. I mean, I remember one time I had to have my brother in Canada, the most recent time, send me a document from Canada to where I was in Taiwan. And it was just like a one little document, like a tiny little piece of nothing, and it cost him like $89 to send it to me. And that was the cheapest option out of Canada. But here, you know, basically $2 for sending my passport to Bangkok. So I was expecting, you know, a much higher cost than that. But as I said, yeah, I saw another big sign there with EMS on it, and I asked the guy again, you know, even after I'd finished everything, and I just wanted to confirm, so this is going by EMS, like courier service? And he says, yes, yes, yes. And yet at no point did the concept of courier or EMS come up. You know, my envelope was just tossed into a pile with a whole bunch of other envelopes, and it just seemed to be part of the Thai postal system. Anyway, you just gotta have faith, right? George Michael. It's actually one of my favorite songs going back to decades ago in South Korea. Gotta have faith. And I do. I try anyway. I do, and I try. In a previous video, I was talking about all my adventures just getting passport photos taken. And that was a process that covered several days. And a friend of mine in Taiwan, an American, he was also going through the same process there, where he needed to renew his American passport. And I just heard from him yesterday that he sent his application package in, and then the embassy contacted him and told him that his passport photos were the wrong size. So it's not just Canadians that have trouble getting the right size for their passport photos. He also sent in his package, and whatever photos he chose, they were not the right size for an American passport. And I do find that kind of confusing, because when I looked at my passport, the photo in my old passport is a totally different size from the photo that I gave as part of my application. So they don't even use the photo you send them. They take that photo and scan it and then insert it electronically or digitally into the passport somehow. So I don't know. I don't know why it makes any difference how, you know, big or small your passport photo is. I can understand if it's too small. You know, they need a big enough picture for it to be clear that they can scan it and make a good copy. But if that's the case, you know, why not just specify, you know, send us a big one, because we're going to scan it anyway. Anyway, gotta have faith. Gotta have faith in the Thai Postal Service, and you gotta have faith in the Canadian Embassy. You gotta have faith in me that I filled out the forms correctly. And I think that's probably the weakest part of the whole system, to be honest. Yeah, you know, I can just imagine people making all kinds of amateur errors, you know? Sort of like sending an email, and the whole point of the email was to send someone an attachment. And 50% of the people in the world who do that, the first time they do it, they forget to attach the attachment. I mean, it's just so easy to do. And in this case, the whole point of this exercise was to get my new passport, so I have to send in my old one. And I'll bet a fairly high percentage of people who go through this process actually forget to put their passport in the envelope at the last minute. You get so focused on the forms, filling out the forms and everything. I can see sealing it up and then sending it away, and then, you know, you feel your pocket and it's like, oh shoot, I didn't put my passport inside, you know? And there are so many gotcha moments too to deal with, because at the last minute yesterday, as I was preparing all of this, I was flipping through my passport just to kind of think, is there anything I need to do before I send this document away? And then I came across the page that had my arrival and departure form from Thailand's immigration service. You know, it's stapled to a page in your passport, and that has, you know, my entry stamp into the country, you know, with the date that I entered and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm thinking, did I do the right thing? Because I took it out. I thought, well, I don't want to send this away and lose it. You know, this is, you know, the official, it's not part of my passport. It's, you know, an immigration document from Thailand. So I removed it from my passport and tucked it away in my documents case. And yeah, it just seemed like that was a wise thing to do. For all of my hard work doing this, I think I'm going to reward myself with an iced coffee somewhere. So I have to decide where to go. And I think I'm going to go to Borderline. I've mentioned Borderline before. I keep intending to go there. It was closed for a long time. Boy, there's another nice coffee shop right there. But Borderline has the added interest of being kind of an arts and crafts center founded by refugees from Myanmar. And the idea is to provide a source of income for these refugees from Myanmar that found themselves living in Mesot. I don't know how active it is these days in terms of the whole refugee side of things, but it is still, you know, a very interesting looking place. They have a tea garden. You can sit outside, and then you can go inside and look at the arts and crafts. So I think I'm going to head there and see if they're open. And there it is across the road, Borderline Cafe, Shop and Gallery. And I think in normal times, looks like they offer cooking classes for Burmese food and things like that. There are definitely not enough tourists and backpackers here in Mae right now to have a cooking class. Fair Trade Handicrafts. So let's go inside and take a look around. I'm going to start with the craft section. Okay, here we are on the inside. And won't surprise people to hear that I'm not really much of an arts and crafts kind of guy, but I do appreciate the skill that goes into making all this kind of stuff. And if I had a home, you know, you could get some pillows, get some hanging cats. I'm not quite sure what they're for. Maybe they're just kind of a neck pillow. And I'm also not much of a fabric guy, but I know a lot of people are, and it looks like they have bolts of traditional fabric from Myanmar. Ah, t-shirts. I definitely could use a t-shirt if they have something in a extra large size. I saw a video recently from the Italian vlogger in Bangkok, Michele Ponte, and he was on a mission that day to return some t-shirts because he bought some t-shirts and then they were like double XL, which of course in Western terms would be huge, but when he got them back to his hotel, of course they were double XL in Thai terms, and they were way too small for him. So he brought them back, and I guess he got triple XL. That was the largest they had. And then I haven't heard yet whether it actually fits him or not. We'll see. Maybe he'll tell us in the next video. Oh, here we have some brighter colors, which is nice. I noticed that other section was all kind of muted tones. Oh, but these look quite nice. It looks like they're designing certain crafts for like modern usage. This looks like some kind of a traveler, a backpacker could use that as a documents pouch. Same thing here. This could be a laptop case. Borderline Women's Collective is a not-for-profit shared market space that enables community-based women's groups from Thailand and Burma to have access to fair trade income, generation opportunities, learn product development, and design and manage a shop for handmade items made in Thailand. Yeah, 520 baht for that. Yeah, actually, this stuff looks really nice. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but they actually have quite a variety of items and kind of traditional handicraft stuff, but also items that are more modern, you know, purses and bags. This is all very nice too. Yeah, they have a selection of bracelets and then some handmade soap. This is Two Bears Tanaka soap. Riceberry soap. Yeah. Silver earrings. necklaces. Keychains, I guess. Yeah, actually I like this place a lot, even though there really isn't anything for me to buy. I was looking at the t-shirts, but all I saw were small, small, small. I didn't see anything at all there that looked like it would fit me. So, but in terms of the range of products that they're carrying, it's really a lot nicer than I expected, to be honest. I'd glanced in the past, you know, from the street, but I didn't realize the shop was as nice as it is. There's a nice jacket. Not for daily wear, of course. Now, do you think it's possible to get a cold drink in the tea garden? That's the next thing. And here's the tea garden. It looks quite nice. Got a big selection of books back there. And then some seating over here where you can sit down on the ground on pillows. And there's some of the drinks there. French press coffee, espresso, iced coffee, Burmese hot tea, Burmese iced tea, juices. I wonder if the books are for sale, or whether they're just meant to be read while you're here. Oh, so yeah, things are working out quite nicely. The women that are running the place today are busy having lunch. It's about 12 o'clock right now, so I've interrupted their lunch, but I chose to have a Burmese hot tea, just to have something Burmese, and then an iced coffee to go along with that. Yeah, they have food here as well. Snacks and sweets like samosas, spring rolls, egg roti, and a whole bunch of Burmese salads. Some stir-fried dishes, you know, fried noodles. I don't know how much of that food they can make right now, of course. They wouldn't have very many customers. Seasonal fruit shake and homemade yogurt. So that would be kind of nice. Oh, and they brought me a glass of water. I was very thoughtful of them. Yeah, I don't think I have to wear the mask back here. I am the only person here, the only customer. But I figure I'll leave it on while they're serving me my drinks. And once my drinks are here, then I will take it off to be a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, I'll have to ask them as well whether the books are for sale. Do they have prices on them on the inside? Yeah, I don't see a price. I rummaged through the bookshelves at my guest house, and I didn't go through all of them. I scanned and I found one book that was a Penguin, you know, a Penguin classic, and that's always a good sign for me. And I just grabbed it, and turns out it's a novel by Margaret Drabble, and that's what I'm reading right now. There might be other good books in that selection, but I don't think there are very many. One thing I've come across in my time sort of traveling around Southeast Asia is you go into these guest houses and you see this, you know, huge selection of books on a bookshelf, and you get very excited, you know, just from a distance. It looks like a treasure trove of books. But when you start digging into them, you are reminded that English is not the only language in the world. Being from Canada or the United States, you might start to think that is the case. But as you start going through the bookshelves, you realize that 90% of them are German, French, Italian, you know, in all kinds, Japanese. they're all in all kinds of different languages, and you actually have to look pretty hard to find books that are in English in these guest houses. But after I have my iced coffee, I think I'll look at some of these books and see what's going on. That's one good thing about my laptop breaking, actually. It's reduced my urge to watch TV shows on my laptop and movies. And I've found myself, like I said already, reading a novel by Margaret Drabble. And since I'll be here for a while, waiting for my new passport, you know, it'd be nice to have a few more books. I didn't realize it, but every table has one of these cloth-covered books on it. And it's a menu, but also has a lot of information about the food and drinks that they prepare here, and all the ingredients that they use and where they come from. So being a collective, you can see they lean towards organic and fresh and locally sourced and biodegradable containers and things like that. This page applies to me because I did order this Burmese hot tea, and according to this, it's made with a blend of tea leaves from Burma and from Thailand. And they give the actual name of the tea leaves and what part of Burma they're from. The taste, color, and smell of our blend is very distinctive. It is tea that is not likely forgotten. And you can buy the tea to take home if you like it. It's kind of cool. And the coffee is from Thailand. Oh, and these are the Burmese salads. Mandalay noodle, Shan potato salad. I haven't had potatoes forever. That would be nice. I wonder how much of these they can actually make. Potato salad, 50 baht. Yeah, very reasonable prices too. Okay. Thank you. Are the books for sale?
No, sir.
No, only to read here.
You want to take, you can take.
Oh, okay.
And you refinish, you come.
Bring them. Thank you. So that's good news, as you probably heard from the waitress that brought me my iced coffee, that the books are not for sale, but they encourage you to take one away if you want to borrow one, and then when you're done with it, you can bring it back or bring other books back. Kind of a shared library. That's very nice. And she brought me my iced coffee. There it is there. Spilling. I think the lack of a straw kind of speaks to the collective nature of this place, because straws have become unwanted in many places around the world now. So you don't get a straw with your iced coffee anymore. Well, another customer. Hello. I'm okay. As I said at the end of that last little video clip, another customer showed up. Big surprise. I didn't get his nationality, but he was a Westerner, and he's been living here in Mae Sot for 8 months, working with some kind of NGO. I didn't ask him a lot of questions, so I don't know what NGO he's working for. But yeah, we had a nice chat. He sat down and ordered one of the Burmese salads and a soup. So I guess the kitchen is open here, and that's really good news. So I will definitely be coming back here for lunch a couple of times more. Yeah, I was telling him a bit about my story, you know, staying in the hotel and then moving into the guest house to take advantage of the air conditioning. And he said that depending on my budget, he might have an option for me because he is moving out of his place. He's been here for 8 months and he's moving out on Sunday. And I guess he has a new posting through his NGO in South Africa. And at the moment, he can't go to South Africa, of course. It's still difficult to do that. But his posting here is over, so he's going to Bangkok, and then he'll be waiting in Bangkok and trying to make arrangements to fly to South Africa to start his new posting with his NGO. So he was saying that if I wanted a really nice place to stay, you know, his place will be available. And he says it's very similar to this in that it's a set of 4 buildings around kind of a big open central garden. So I assume it's a full, a house kind of arrangement. And he said if I wanted to take over that place from him, I could do that. He was paying, he said, 7,000 baht a month, plus something like 2,000 for electricity, you know, for the air conditioning. And so that's actually quite a bit more expensive than what I'm currently paying at the Green Guest House. But in any event, I paid at the Green Guest House for another month in advance, so I have no desire to move, no need to move. And if I need a garden atmosphere, you know, I kind of have that at the Green Guest House too. You know, it's a little bit more of a funky garden atmosphere, but, you know, there's a lot of trees there. And if I need more open space, I can now come here to Borderline. Yeah, I'm very pleased with this place. It is much nicer than I expected. Yeah, it was actually funny speaking with this other Westerner because he lives here. You know, he's been here for 8 months, but he seemed to be less aware of what is going on in the world of tourism and backpackers and the coronavirus and restrictions than I am. So I was telling him that he is essentially the first foreigner I've seen in months, really. I saw one foreigner when I went to immigration, and that was, what, 2 months ago, perhaps? So, and that was just the one guy. I basically have seen nobody in this city for what feels like forever, and he was quite surprised to hear that. You know, he says, isn't there like a big backpacker hostel just around the corner? And I said, well, yeah, there is, but it's closed. You know, there's nobody staying there. And even though he lives here, that was kind of news to him. He still had the impression, I guess, that a lot of, you know, foreign backpackers and travelers were still coming in and out of Mae Sot. And he said, normally, he said that, you know, whenever he would come here, this place would be full of people, you know, travelers coming here for the cooking classes and things like that. And I said, yeah, that would have been true months ago, but ever since the borders closed, yeah, it's me. I'm the whole game in town, apparently. I haven't seen anyone else. So since I was chatting with this guy, I missed taking any video of my tea. The tea came out, and it was very well presented. Came out on a beautiful tray with, you know, the tea itself had beautiful coloring, and it had a nice little container of cream or milk, and then some brown sugar. I didn't add any sugar, but the tea itself was absolutely delicious. So they weren't lying that it will be an unforgettable tea. It was very good tea, and I'm not really even a tea guy. So yeah, I was very, very pleased with that tea. And like I said, the coloring of it was really nice. That kind of a thick reddish brown. You know, it's not like it was a thin Lipton tea bag kind of deal. You know, this was a rich kind of tea experience. So that was very good. So yeah, I think I found my second home in Mae Sot. This is very, very nice. Oh, I'm going to take a few minutes and go over the bookshelf, see if I can find any treasures. That would really put the icing on my Borderline cake. So, my iced coffee and tea expedition to Borderline is done. I just noticed they have this long wall mural at the entrance. It's quite nice. Yeah, that was a very successful little outing. Assuming my passport is winging its way to the right place and a new passport will be coming back, and discovering how great Borderline is. Very successful outing. And when I looked over the collection of books, I was very surprised. First of all, almost all of them were in English. After going on and on about how all the books in guest houses tend to be in German for the most part, suddenly I find this place and they have several, bookshelves full of all English books. And of course you get your usual assortment of spy thrillers and things like that you see everywhere. But there was a surprisingly good selection of actual literature on those shelves. So yeah, I grabbed 3 or 4 books. I have them in my backpack. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading them. Of course, it depends what your taste is in books, but I found quite a few books on that shelf that I'd be interested in. And you did get a selection of kind of, backpacker style, self-help, new age kind of books, those sorts of things. And I don't tend to read too many of those. But if that's your thing, they have quite a selection there as well. And oddly enough, they had the Game of Thrones series, like the whole series times 2 or 3. There was like an entire section of the shelf devoted only to George R.R. Martin and Game of Thrones. I remember there was a time when that would have been all Harry Potter books. But I guess as an international phenomenon, Harry Potter has been supplanted by a Game of Thrones as we're all waiting impatiently for the next book. Yesterday, I didn't shoot any video, but I did have a couple of small adventures yesterday. They're more like errands. I wanted to find a place where I could get water, like filtered water, where I could refill my own bottles instead of, just buying bottles all the time. And I found one of those. Turned out to be very inexpensive and easy to use. I found one not too far away from my guest house. Cost about 5 baht to fill up like a 6-liter bottle. So that's very economical. Hopefully the filtration system in that machine is well maintained and the water is actually healthy and drinkable. We'll see how that goes. I also wanted to find a laundromat. I saw one, like a coin-operated laundromat, when I was out walking around the other day. And I thought I remembered where it was, and I went for a walk, and I finally tracked it down. Looks like I'll be able to do some laundry there if I want to. Costs like 30 or 40 baht for a load, depending on the size of the machine. I couldn't really figure out all the ins and outs of how to use these washing machines. They had instructions in Thai, and I tried to use my phone, Google Translate, to translate the Thai, but it made no sense at all. But I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. Should be able to get some laundry done there when I need to. Ah, yes, I almost forgot. The biggest adventure of yesterday was buying a new cooking pot. I have this little cheap kettle that I bought in Myanmar months ago, and it has served me well, but it is quite a dangerous device because it doesn't have any safety features built into it. Hello. And every time I use it, I have to be very careful because it gets incredibly hot, and it has no off-on switch. It doesn't come to a boil and turn off automatically. So if you forget about it and it runs dry, you're going to be in trouble. So I had to be very careful using this kettle. And it was so small that it was a little bit difficult to do any cooking with it. I could do it, but I had to really kind of figure out how to get around how small it was. So I decided to buy a new one, and I went to this hardware store around the corner, and I found quite a nice one, 1.5 liters. It's not perfect. I made spaghetti with it last night, and that was a bit of an adventure. because it does have a dial for temperature control, you know, from low to high, but it doesn't really work. All that means is on or off, and when the heating element is on, it is always at full power. And if you fill it up and then fill it with spaghetti, that heating element is so hot that it boils like a volcano ready to erupt, and it can just send blobs of boiling water like flying in all directions, because it comes to such a severe rolling boil that you really have to keep an eye on it. So I found myself standing there while the spaghetti was cooking and constantly stirring it and then adjusting the temperature to turn it off and on, off and on, off and on. I couldn't really just fill it with spaghetti and let it boil, because the thing would just like an erupting volcano, you know. So that was I'll have to figure out how to work with the quirks of this new cooker. But yeah, that was my big adventure for yesterday. I figure I can use it for a month while I'm here, and then I can just leave it behind. It's too big and heavy to carry anywhere, really. And this is one of the great mysteries of Thailand and Myanmar. I keep seeing pictures like this everywhere, and I don't know how they did it, but they managed to get hold of my body, and then they keep putting the faces of other men on top of it. I see this same thing in health and fitness gyms everywhere, you know. So how did they get all these pictures of my body and then put someone else's face on that? Yeah, I wish I could figure that out. Just kidding. Whoa. Noisy motorcycle there. Just kidding about the health and fitness guy. It's not really my body, but one can dream. Well, I was back at my guest house briefly, but there was a big family conference going on, and they all three, mother, father, and son, put their heads together and their English ability together to tell me that someone who was watching one of my videos on YouTube made a telephone call, called the guest house to tell me where I can find a OTG adapter for my phone. And as far as I can make out, the whoever called was telling me that I can pick up one of these OTG adapters at the Advice computer shop near the Hot Hospital. And there are actually a number of Advice outlets around town, but whoever the mystery caller is, he said that only this Advice outlet actually carries them. I don't know how he could know that, but I will definitely go take a look. It's not that far away. I can just take a short walk down to the Advice shop and see if they really do carry this OTG adapter. So one more adventure for today. Actually, maybe two adventures, because I'd also like to get copies made of my keys for my room at Green Guest House. That might seem weird, but whenever I stay somewhere for a long time, I'd like to make copies of the keys. Quite often the guest house itself doesn't have copies. So if you lock yourself out of your room, it could cause a lot of trouble because they don't actually have an extra set. That's how it was at First Hotel. They didn't even have extra keys for all the different rooms. So yeah, I'd like to, and even if they do have an extra set, if I lock myself out of the room, then of course I have to go find them and tell them, you know, can they find the extra key and let me back into my room. I just like to have my own set. If it only costs, you know, a few baht to make a copy of the key, I'll often do that. Stick it in my wallet just to make sure I always have a key with me. So we'll see if I pass a key making operation on my way to the Advice computer shop. Just an interesting aside, as I'm walking to the computer shop, I popped into 7-Eleven, and now they have a new system for processing customers. It's really kind of hard to keep up with the mood, because on the one hand, you've got this sense that everything is opening up, you know, domestically anyway, and becoming more like restrictions are being lifted. and that sort of thing. But then you get individual businesses that are actually going in the opposite direction, and they're actually implementing more restrictions and more systems. So 7-Eleven is going against the grain of the national mood. It's no big deal, but it just struck me as interesting because now when you go into 7-Eleven, they take your temperature, you have to disinfect your hands, but now they also have a book at the front door, and you have to write down your name, phone number, and the time that you entered the store. And then when you leave, you have to note the time that you exited. So they're not using a QR code system at this 7-Eleven. They are asking people to, check in and check out using a logbook. So that's kind of interesting. It does feel a little bit weird though, because me filling out the book took longer than my entire time inside the store, right? Because I don't know my phone number off the top of my head, and I'm a very slow writer, so I'm laboriously writing down my name, and then I have to dig my notebook out of my knapsack to find what my phone number is. So it takes me so long. And by the time I finally checked into 7-Eleven, it was at, 11 minutes after 1. Then I made my purchase, and I was checking out at 13 minutes after 1. So I was in the store for a total of 2 minutes, but it took me about 4 minutes to fill out the book. So, yeah, life, Life is funny. And there it is over there, the Advice Computer Shop. As I said, I've seen at least 3 advice outlets here in Mesot. And my informant tells me that this is the only one of the 3 that actually carries an OTG adapter. This would be very exciting if they have one. Well, they used to have a hand sanitizing station on the outside, but it's gone. Maybe it's on the inside now. Well, what do you know? My supportive YouTube community strikes again. This is incredible having all you guys out there giving me a little bit of assistance now and again, because they did indeed carry OTG cables. They had 3 of them there. And there's still a small chance that it may not work. I know OTG is a little bit tricky. I've known people who had some of these adapters in the past and they didn't work. But the one that I have, my original one, is from Samsung. Like, it's an official Samsung OTG cable that I bought when I bought my first smartphone, which was a Samsung. And that OTG cable adapter works beautifully all the time. Some other brands seem to be a little bit trickier, depending on the model of smartphone. But I'll get this back to my green guest house room, give it a try, and hopefully it works. Oh. So I'm back at my guest house. My GoPro battery died when I was out on the streets, and all my other batteries were back here charging. So I got cut off there as I was talking about my new OTG adapter. There it is there. It's from a company called Paizen, I think. And I haven't tested it yet. I thought I would save that to share it with you guys. I've got my smartphone here, and I've got a memory card plugged into the adapter. And if this works well, after I plug it in, then we should get a little pop-up, window at the bottom asking me to select what app I want to use to read the memory card. So let's see what happens. Did anything happen? Ah, there we go. Success. So if I click on File Manager, and there we go. I have access to everything in my phone and to this memory card up here. USB storage. So I can read memory cards with this adapter. I can attach my GoPro memory card into this adapter and copy video files to the phone. And using this adapter, I can plug in a wireless mouse and a keyboard, which I have. So, and I guess, yeah, anything, basically any USB device that can run off your phone, you know, external hard drives, anything like that, you can use this OTG adapter. So there we have it. Success. You know, I swear I went to, I don't know how many shops in Mesot on my own. I went to, I mean, basically every cell phone store, every electronics shop that I passed, I went into every single one of them, and I couldn't find this adapter anywhere. And I figured I'd have to order it online. But of course, one of you, somehow you knew exactly where to go in Mesot to get it. And without you, I never would have found it. So thank you very much. Next, maybe I'll just show you my new pot that I bought, you know, for cooking, as exciting as that is. And then we'll end the video here because I think it is getting longer and longer. Today has been a big day of errands. Let me grab my pot, my new cooking pot. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll end the video for today. All right, there it is. Family brand. Someone told me that this is a very famous brand in Thailand. 1.5 liter pot with a lid. So you can use it to, you know, boil water for coffee or for tea. And because it is such a big, wide open pot, you can use it for cooking noodles, cooking spaghetti, boiling eggs. And it actually came with a whole bunch of adapters, like things that I can insert in here for steaming vegetables, boiling eggs, all kinds of things. And the way it works is on one of these platforms, you know. So you plug in the cord, and then this platform sits on the table and you drop it on there, and now it has power. And when it's finished cooking or boiling, you just lift it off the base and you can do whatever you want. So there's no cord officially attached to the cooking pot, which is nice. Though it is not a perfect pot, as I said, because this dial feels very cheap, very cheaply made. It feels like that's going to break very, very soon. They had another pot that I liked better because it had a switch that had auto and on. So if you're boiling water for coffee, you put it on auto, which means that when the water is boiling, it brings it to a boil, then it automatically shuts off like a normal kettle. And if you wanted to cook longer for spaghetti or something, you click it to on, and then it never turns off. You know, I really like that feature. And the switch felt very solid, very well built. The problem with that one is it was too small. It was like less than a liter or something like that. The volume was not big enough. And this one, it makes you think you can set the temperature from low to high, but that's not really how it works. It's really just an on-off switch. And when it is on, this thing is at a full boil, like I said. It's like a volcano, and the water in there is just like rolling boil, like there's a typhoon inside this pot. And if you fill it up too far and then you put spaghetti in, then the water has a tendency to just boil over the top and go all over the place. So you gotta keep an eye on it, you know, with this switch. But there it is, my new cooking pot, and I hope to make many delicious meals with this pot in my time here at the Green Guest House. So that's it. Very long day of errands, starting with the passport and going on from there. I'm actually going to make a cup of coffee, sit down and relax, and kind of, actually I'm going to look at the books that I got from Borderline. That was a real treasure trove that I found. So that's it for the video today, and if I have any more small adventures tomorrow, I will see you in that video. And thanks again so much for telling me about where to get the USB OTG adapter. Saved my life. See you in the next video.